Hi, welcome you all guys once again to my Literary Essence channel. Today the talk of the topic we are talking about that is about post-war literature. In this particular topic, which is a very significant and very interesting one to know about it, is the introduction to the post-war literature, and then they will talk about the two world wars and the reactions to that wars, and of course the themes which has been vividly can be observed in this war post-war literature. And of course there are various genres of the literature, for example dramas, novels, poetries, and various other genres which are highly contributing in this matter in post-war literature. We're talking about this all, and further a little bit more criticism from the side of the critics who have been and also we will talk about this all. And the six young men, it's a poem, and of course church going is also to be mentioned, and then we are going to talk about a little bit more about this all. And today our focus is mainly on the introduction to the post-war literature, that what it is and what are the significances of the literature, which we are talking particularly about the post-war. So as the word refers to the post is, and itself signifies, the post means after, and the war refers to the World War II. So it means the literature which has been written right after the first World War II, and the few decades which has been followed is said to be the literature of post-war. And although the post-war literature means the war right after World War II, but there is still, we can see there in some cases the literature that was written after the First World War by T.S. Eliot, for example, like the Westland, is still to be counted the World War II, so post-war war literature. So the pre-war literature and the post-war literature, these are the two strong contrasts to each other, because there's a very big difference between these, the pre-war literature and the post-war literature. If we talk about the pre-war literature, it contains or the themes, or could be said like this, is it talks about optimism, peaceful, and we can say that rational and traditional, and of course these are objectives in its nature. While if you talk about and more modern, it shows the acceptance and does not rebel, as the society has not seen destruction on such a massive scales, while the post-war literature is in opposition and is full of subjectivity. So we're talking about the two world wars and the post-war literature. So this literature is full of pessimism about life and humanity due to the two consecutive two wars, bloody wars, and the people had bitter experience. They had been butchered, they had been tortured, they had been exiled, they had been the brutality of the human was unimaginable, we can say about this. The millions of the people were killed, butchered, and even the men, women, children, soldiers, civilians, each and every one, or even the sick were butchered, and who all the cities were crumbled, and they were completely chaotic condition, and we can see that the material as well as the spiritual and the moral loss were highly heart-wrenching to see, and most of the people lost their near and dear ones during the World War. And the most important point is that without having without knowing about this all, that why such kind of things are happening, so they were traumatized and confused over the atrocities and that they committed against one another. Now the point arises, this was all a little bit background to the World War literature, so post-war literature, sorry, and right now I will come to the point that what was the reaction to this scenario. So the reaction is really ponderable, and we must have to note this. And this reaction is said to be the post-war literature. How? Because thus in reaction they develop a new and strange philosophies, because they rejected the religion, culture, norms, values, and the set trends and the prevalent, because they refused to these all kind of things, because they couldn't prevent the destructive wars, and they were very much true in this sense, and they refused they refused to accept their norms and the culture trends which were already prevalent at that time. And even they rejected the social, political, biological, psychological, economical, and various other theories in the philosophies of the great thinkers such as Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, Friedrich Nietzsche, and Charles Darwin, who had already destroyed the religion for most of the people. These changes were not only limited to common life, but were also reflected in literature. This is what we're talking about, the topic of the talk for today. And now you must have to know that then what's next? What's up right after that? If they have rejected religion, culture, socials, norms, values, philosophies, each and everything. So what about the next point? This is a very important, and this is what you should have to understand. That is that writers were blending the philosophies in their own in their written books. For example, absurdism, existentialism, alienation, nihilism, and various other kind of the main aspects of the post-war can be vividly to be seen in their writings, and the life of man become absurd or meaningless. It was something purposeless, and they were in a confused and traumatized condition. And the state was like that. They couldn't understand what is going on, and there was nothing to comfort them. So this condition is very terrible, and it is a very heart-wrenching. So this kind of condition set the background to the world literature, and this was the direction which which prevailed at the time. And now the most important thing we have to know about that the themes of the post-war literature is very important to know that, because we know very well the themes of the post-war literature are mainly pessimistic and skeptic. Because pessimistic in the sense this because the condition has been already set in a very chaotic condition, and of course when one comes to know about it, escape from such conditions and to get relief, and these include the most important you have to mention these absurdisms, existentialism, skepticism, nihilism, suffering, death, isolation, desolation, pessimism, doubt, and suspicion, strange concept of time, horrors of the past, confusion of present, fear for the future, war, violence and destruction, silent and belittling characters are the main themes which can be seen in this regard. Furthermore, if we talk about that, these kind of things can be seen in various genres of the post-war literature. For example, the most prominent we can see it is the drama, because in the drama we can know very well about the most prominent figure of the time is all the genres which I told you before, all the genres of the post-war era contains the above stated themes explicitly or implicitly. Same is the case with the dramas or the plays. A separate theater was named of theater of the absurd, which was founded by was found after the war was taken, and the founder was the great Samuel Beckett, and because he was absurdist dramatist, and the main purpose of this theater was to highlight the purposelessness and meaninglessness of human lives. So far, in this special theater produced to work effectively. Most of the main dramas of the post-war literature was Waiting for Godot, Jones, we can say the Luke Beckeninger, John Osborne, and Caretaker. These are the very prominent dramas about it. And Waiting for Godot is one of the best because it starts with nothing to be done and nothing to be done to all the plays, and the few characters in these are highlighting the futility of man's actions in a very significant setting. And of course, furthermore, we can talk about that novels, which is the most prominent, is The Lord of the Flies by William Golding, and this novel is based on the idea of innate evil inside humans. And further, we can talk about there are the poetry of the post-war literature. This is a little bit more to be pondered because it plays a very important role. There are two stages in the poetry of the post-war literature. At the advent of the war, the poets were, supported the war, and they wrote poems in favor of the war. They applauded nationalism, patriotism, martyrdom, and freedom and liberty. They infused spirit and zeal in the soldiers and in the public to support their country in war. This was the first stage, which we can see that for most of the time in most of the world they did such kind of things. While in the second stage everything reversed, because they knew that the first stage couldn't result oriented, and it becomes in a chaotic condition, and these can be called the man-made catastrophes. And they saw the better autocracies and committed by the nations and humans against one another. So they wrote on the reversal of it in the face of the war. They highlighted the destruction, brutality, agony, anxiety, and futility of war. And great poets such as T.S. Eliot, W.B. Yeats, Dylan Thomas, Philip Larkin, Teddy Hughes, and many others have discussed this futility of the wars, for which I would like to say the second comings of W.B. Yeats, who says really importantly, and if I quote here right now, he says, turning and turning in the widening Gaia. Turning and turning in the widening Gaia. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Tyranny and anarchy is prevail on the earth. So this kind of things has been later been adopted in many ways. For example, Chinua Achebe, things fall apart. It means the center cannot hold, has been, and many other work has been adopted like this. So hope so you have a little bit come to know about the background, interaction, reactions, and the various other aspects of the post-war literature. And this was, furthermore, we will talk about the, particularly about the John Osborne Look Back in Anger play in a detail. So if you like this channel and the views about it, and all this kind of effort, which you may call a contribution, particularly for those who want to know about it, so you should have to subscribe my channel. I will be really thankful to you all. Thank you.